so today is the 6th of August, which, as you know from the Fibonacci series, there we are, 8 and 6, which is the male principle. So today is a germane day to talk about the culmination of the Total War Service. So all of you have bought the Total War Service will be glad to hear its efficacy has been expanded massively. Those of you who've been following the story will know that the Elohim manipulates the Earth's energy field using machine code, which Colin Bloyd doused in Andorra, which are the Grail patterns available from Magic Mike over there, with the 6 Grail stones, which we haven't really talked about at length, and that's a whole other story. But why are we talking about the Elohim and this machine code today? Well, today, August the 6th, is Vow Day, the male principle day. And looking at the diagram, we've shown that the male principle 8 is used to cancel out the 13th term 233. Oh, sharp edges on this. Yeah. 233 consisting of equals 64 plus 169. So this doesn't manifest. But if you cancel out the 64, which of course is 8 squared, this is 13 squared. How do you cancel out the 8? Wars, killing a lot of male principle. Easy. Killing a lot of male principle. Then, of course, the 233 manifests as 13 squared, 169. So all the bad stuff comes. So that's why the Illuminati are constantly having wars all across the planet. They had a war in Vietnam, making loads of 169 for the Vietnamese by killing lots of Vietnamese males and everything else in sight. Plus 53,000 of their own cannon fodder, and maiming countless others. So why do they do this? Create 169? Because it's a zero-sum game. The more harm you inflict upon non-white countries, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Japan with the Hiroshima bombs, which dropped today, Hiroshima bomb, Syria, Yugoslavia, which was communist, Central South America, countless wars there, Mexico having a nice constant number of dead. This feeds zero-sum game, good stuff, to the Illuminati in the West, making a nice booming Western economy, and meaning the West is super rich compared to the rest of the world, until China came along. Similarly, the 8. So when you lose your hyperinfinity, that means when the system goes belly up because chaos has gone too far away from the source to bleed it. We're in this scenario. Then of course 89 needs to be manifest. Can't be, because 89 consists of 81 plus 8. 9 squared can manifest. And as we saw, we can take it further down to 9 squared equals 81. When we take away the 8, see? 89 minus 8. Right, male principle again. Take away the male principle from the 89, give you 81. We want to get down to the 8, 64, 8 squared. What do we have to add to 64 to get to 81? 60, 70, yeah, 17. 64 plus 17, if I'm not mistaken. 6, 70, yeah, 81. But let's take that back to 89. Whoosh. 64 plus 64 plus 2, 6, 8, yeah, 89. So we can manifest the 89 as 8 squared plus 5 squared. So that means 89, the good stuff, when you've lost your hyperinfinity. That's the Colin Bloy, the Union's taking over, and the Soviet Union, huge threat to Zion for the Fibonacci series starting with 0. You can manifest 8 squared and 5 squared. The 8 squared can then be imported to here, up the top, to cancel out all the bad stuff, the 169, that's been inflicted upon you, which drove you down into losing your hyperinfinity. And of course then you've got to be promoting the 5 squared which of course the female principle from up the top, or the male type female. And in this case back in 81 we got the rise, 81 to 89, the rise of the Queen of the Illuminati, Madonna. And Whitney Houston. And Madonna, masculine version of female, because she had a big lesbian affair with a comedian, hugging on the couch. If you look back, you're probably too young to remember. So one can see that when the West becomes fucked, we get locked into trying to manifest the 89. And in this case, here, the 5 squared, Miss America, Taylor Swift, who has to be masculinized, hence her men video. And we have to add lots of male principle from the archetype of the male. Hollywood's most successful leading man, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which stars in the men video. So the men video is one giant ritual to manifest The 12 bring good stuff to Zion. Now, the problem is that the coronavirus and the economic collapse of Zion was caused, going back to our prelims, by the Elohim's machine code, which in its highest form, think of the overmind of the machine code being the Grail state. The Grail state looks like this. Good having a whiteboard. Yeah, it's Grail state. Yeah. With lots of layers. Think of it like an onion, basically. And there's a ram's horn, which can be this way, 7 spiral, or that way. This points to a power spot, a grail stone, or a fountain, or the Elohim. This one would be the opposite way round, where the grail state actually is the beneficiary of this process. So we're aligning with spirit, or the universal quantum wave function, and inside we've got the 7 circles, which also is a pregnant woman. That's the fetus, and we've got the I to the I. When it pops out, ooh, we've got the minus I to the I. Pops out, that one. I to the I, it's fucking gaining. See? So, as soon as Perry got pregnant, the coronavirus sprang out of Wuhan's bio lab in China, adding its being to the world. I feel it. Draining complex number money energy out of it. So if you read the Total War Service, you'll see that I explained what would happen once Perry got married to Bloom. Why? Well, I tricked the Illuminati into believing that Perry was a 4-load Nagwal, and therefore when she has a baby with Bloom, who is an artificial Nagwal using Knights Templar technology, which will explain that greatly, we get the 8. And as we've seen, the 8's damn valuable. The 8's taken away here to make nasty stuff. It's added to make things good. So making an 8, Perry and Bloom with their fetus, which of course would be a 4, 2 Nagwals always have a Nagwal, would give us 12, locking us into the 144, bringing wonder, goodness and absolute beneficence to Zion. So that was the long con. Sell the story to the royal family, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, black noble families of Europe, the only people who matter in Illuminism. And she comes, of course, from Illuminati stock. One of ancestors was a railroad baron. So I go. And of course, I have to be ritually sacrificed to give my Nagwal energy to Bloom. So if I'd gone back to the UK, there was the planned ritual sacrifice. I didn't go back, that's why the head of MI6 had to take early retirement. Now you get from this that the West is run by black magicians who follow Illuminati magic. which works because it kept Egypt together for 5,000 years. Unfortunately for Zion and its 5,000 year potential history, which now numbers in months once Donald Trump gets kicked out by Biden. Biden gets his aneurysms galore, and the female black vice president and squad and the rest of the nutcase Democrats give America over to the non-whites, which is the worst nightmare of the FBI, the US deep state, and of course the British deep state. Because remember, top of the British deep state is the royal family, who tokenism with Meghan, but that didn't work out. She's off in America. She doesn't like them. They were racist, allegedly. So Perry actually was a 3-load, which meant she was 3, plus with the all the energy they put into making the bloom via Spiers, Knights Templar, she was a 7, which of course brought disaster, the 13, to Zion. So if you're living in America, Britain or Europe or Australia or Canada or New Zealand, you might guess things aren't rosy. There's a bit of a problem with Zion. Now, in the hyper-infiniteness area here, the 7 turns 8. So we, the beneficiaries, remember I bought Perry's soul off the Great Lord Lucifer. You must have wondered why I'd buy Perry's soul off the Great Lord Lucifer, because I was going to use Perry to trap the chaos entity that was in the bloom shell in Omega Hell, which worked out perfectly. Male gives the energy to the female once you have a baby. So, we have the Grail state. In this state, feeding the energy out, positive torsion field, to who? Me. Because I am the soul, this is the capsule, with the baby, Perry, which I bought from Lucifer. So when it's I to the I state, I get it, and it's minus I to the I state, I can then download the minus I to the I into whatever I want of chaos. When does this happen? Of course, when the baby's born, which is days away. We then, of course, have a grandmother who's a Nagwal woman dying to make it into 13. And 13, taking away the 8 from the equation. How do we take away the 8? Loads of 8s have been dying. Lots of rich white people and rich Jews have been dying like flies. In Florida's full of rich white people, which then manifest 169 in America. As you might have guessed, America isn't a happy place at the moment. Now, why this preamble? Well, now 6 minutes past 11, so we can start. Because 11, of course, is death door. But as you might guess, videos can be magic rituals. So, Viet Duc, the elixir of life. The problem being for Zion, the shit hits the fan when Perry becomes pregnant, and also they did a ritual on me with Bank of Cyprus in 2013, 8th of the 13th, 8th of the 13th, as we explained. 8/13 to take away my money, to manifest a 169 for me, and then add that 8 to themselves. But I didn't realise I made that money from supernatural spirit, which was using their Illuminism against them. So of course it was booby-trapped. And come August 13th of this year, the bomb goes off. Because we get to the 7th term, 13 for me, so I can manifest total hell on earth for Zion. And on that date, the 8th of the Hyperinfinitus, that's all the Zionites, totally under my control. So I'm taken away from the 233 if they had hyperinfinity, but they lost that, thanks to the Grail State. But I can also take it away from the 89 to leave 5 squared. And we know the 5th term for the hyperinfinitus, but that comes to me, 5, hyperinfinity. So they bleed hyperinfinity to me. They can't use it because they're hyperinfinites, but it comes to me. And I can use that to manifest whatever I want, total quantum wave function. Which is the Total War Service. So if you read the Total War Service, it starts with Perry getting pregnant with Bloom, causing total economic collapse, unleashing of nastiness, and then of course we get race and class war, which of course is George Floyd. The Black Lives Matter, culminating in the election of a Democrat President Biden, who's a Rockefeller Rothschild crown puppet, but has got a lifespan of a mayfly, so his Negro female vice president then has to bow to pressure from a squad and the rest of the Democrats who want all of America taken for the non-whites and the whites having to pay 400 years of slavery and allowing in infinite migration from Central South America. All starting in November. And remember, Biden has had 2 aneurysms in '88, so his brain has the resilience of a squashed turnip, which has then been under a bulldozer. Now, the black magicians of the West. I'm going to take this laying down. What can we do to stop this? He's done this big ritual on us using Perry. So we need to make Perry into a Nagua woman. Jump timelines. How do we jump timelines? We jump timelines with death. That's why we're doing this at 11:11. Who, of course, is born on 11/11, 11 plus 11, on the 8th month. The bubblegum girl. So if we can steal her nagualicity, give it to Perry, we can then diffuse the Total War Service before it blows up when she has a baby, the minus eye to the eye. That would mean then we need a world event of massive death. She, of course, is Muslim because she's parents come from Kosovo, Kosovan Albanians. So we need a gigantic world ritual of death, change timelines, done against Muslims. When do we do it? Oh, Perry's birthday, 4th of August, 84. She's born 1984. And the 19, wherever. 7 o'clock would be germane. So one part of the planet, 7 o'clock. Right? And of course, the Bank of Cyprus was the EU Rothschilds ritual to do me in, which failed. So we need to involve Cyprus. And of course it's done against the Zionites. So we need to involve Israel. So we do the ritual to the north of Israel. North is the black magician's point. And to the east of Cyprus, which is hell space, to drop the curse from real number space, where it's going to manifest once Perry has a baby, into hell space, drop it back into hell. So what happens, just by chance, nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate, plus solvent, flammable, just blows up of its own volition in the Beirut port, levelling the port and the surrounding area. Basically a 3 kiloton, if you had the solvent, explosion. Just by chance, it just went off. But on exactly the right time and place in order to jog timelines with a gigantic sacrifice of Muslims who live in the Lebanon. Because we know things just blow up. It's just an accident. Nothing to do with Zionites detonating it to do their black magical ritual. That would be conspiracy theory. But, be that as it may, it happened at the right time, in the right place, to abrogate the Total War Service. So all of you who spent $10,000 on your Total War Service should start to feel a little scared. Have I wasted my money? Has Perry used the ritual to steal the nagualicity of the bubblegum girl with the death of so many Muslims to make herself into a real nagual, to then change her Jewish daughter into a nagual woman who can then marry Gormless George? The plan of Zion. Unfortunately for them, I'm an Ipsissimus black magician who's got the one ring from Lord of the Rings, because you make stuff in the noosphere and you can manifest it. And Tolkien, of course, always said his Lord of the Rings books were based on the real history of the world, if you read his memoirs. And of course, being the best precognitive remote viewer on the planet, I control the future. That's the power of precognitive remote viewing. So would I have prepared a trap for the Zionites? Yes. In part 2, you'll see that cunning plan come to fruition, and all of the plans of the Zionites to make things better, having made them infinitely worse. Cut. So to continue, let's set the scene. The Total War Service detonates with Perry's birth, goes into the minor side. What's the minor side mean? That means you take stuff away. You delete. Deleting from Cumbra Vieja, the strength of the rock, so bit dropping down. Nice 15-metre tidal wave instead of a 200-metre tidal wave. Or you can have the 200-metre tidal wave. Deleting strength from Yellowstone's magma chamber under the top magma chamber. So 20 years from now, Yellowstone blows. Deleting the strength from the San Andreas fault. So we get huge Californian earthquake. Or the Oregon Rift. The rift offshore from Oregon, big tidal wave. smashes in the shit cities of Portland, Seattle, with all the computer nerds, or the new Madrid fault line. Or deleting from all the Zionites something from their immune system or whatever. As you can imagine, the Zionites are upset that this will kick in once she has her baby. Similarly, the Bank of Cyprus ritual, just by chance, comes into its 7th year, when the nasty stuff happens, 13. And for the hyper-infamous 8, remember you can delete the 8 from the 233 to get 169, and the here, down here, 89, you can delete the 8, so the good stuff for the hyper-infamous, pardon me, doesn't manifest. So they're mad keen to stop this. Now, setting the scene, in Beirut we've got nigh on 3,000 tonnes of ammonium nitrate, according to their ex-foreign minister on BBC, 2,750, which had solvent near it just by chance. Now, the World War II bombs, which the British dropped on Dresden and other German cities to burn them alive, the Wicker Man ritual, were made of something called ammonol. I've got a chemistry degree, so I'm au fait with all of this stuff. Ammonol consists of diesel fuel and ammonium nitrate. Those were the World War II bombs dropped by Bomber Command over the Germans. As you might guess, they make a big bang. The IRA used them in milk churns, ammonium nitrate as fertiliser. So the Irish farmers, Northern Irish farmers, had loads of stuff. Southern Irish farmers, loads of stuff. Mix it with diesel, which you get from a... Where do you get diesel from? Oh. Gas station. Mix them in a churn, and you make huge bombs, enormous bombs. Just by chance, this stuff was lying around and detonated on 84. To link up with the Perry, remember, to change timelines, you need to have death. Just by chance, we killed over 100 people, 100th monkey effect. This was then designed to change the timeline where Perry was a 3-load to a 4-load, and a baby was a 2-load to a 4-load. 4 baby, 4 Perry, 4 Bloom, no longer reduced to a shitbird by me. All done with the entire world focusing on this new event, the Beirut 4.5 on the Richter scale explosion, which destroyed the port. Water, south, humans. Who do we drain the Naglisti from? Bubblegum girl. She's a Muslim, yeah. Drain her Naglisti, give it to Perry, in the past. Babies, therefore, Nagwal. And we got Gormless George's satanic bride for the future to guarantee the line of the royal family. All done. Unfortunately then, I'm Nipsissimus with the one ring. And the precognitive remote viewer. Remember, they're chaotic, so whatever they do to change things makes it worse. Butterfly effect. They might have a machine that can go a few days back in the past, change the past. Every time they change the past, it gets worse for them. Because they don't know the starting conditions and never can because they're not the source. I'm the source, so I know all the consequences. Now, just by chance, Perry is a 3-lobe nagwal with 2 lobes on the left side and only 1 lobe on the right. The right is for material world, the world of Newtonian mechanics. The left side, all the magic stuff. So Perry can do all the magic stuff, but it always leads to disaster. Hence with Russell Brand. Magic stuff, take him along to baby-eating rituals, and he runs away like a scolded cat. Divorces her by text. Her mentor, Hillary Rodham Clinton, the queen of baby eating. Now, we're doing the exchange ritual, but let's reverse it. Instead of the ritual working for Perry, remember I bought a soul of Lucifer, so whatever energy you give to Perry comes to me. I bought a soul of Lucifer. She signed a soul away to become famous in the pop business. Christian album failed, company went bankrupt, sold 100 units, and then she hadn't even got a high school diploma because she went into her music. Then they offer, come along to the ritual, sign your soul away, we'll make you famous. Hence all her satanic rituals on stage and at the Super Bowl. So, when they did their Beirut ritual, instead of it powering up Perry, it powers up me. Instead of the baby becoming a nagwal woman or girl or baby, female baby, no, power comes to me. But as I've explained, every time you try and do a ritual against me, when you've got no chance, you're signing an IOU. Are we? Yeah. Debt. Morton Janklow, Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson. EU, stealing my money, now the whole EU's fucked. They stole millions of euros from me, now the entire European Union. Totally fucked. Economically fucked. And I'll make sure the European Union's destroyed. But that's a Chad world. Now to continue, they were an IOU. What's Perry? A 3-lobe nagwal. Who's a 4-lobe nagwal? Who signed her eternal hellization in Omega Hell warrant? Who was born 1989 and is the only one able to reboot the goodness in the hyperinfiniteness. These are got no hyperinfinity, can't collapse the quantum wave function, so the only way to bring goodness back to the hyperinfiniteness is the 89. Which consists of, see, 81 plus 8, 64 plus 25. We can stick the 8 up the top, give it to the hyperinfinite realm to abrogate 169 in the hyperinfinite realm. Zero-sum game, we therefore pull ourselves up, making 233, we pull ourselves up into the hyperinfinite realm by giving the 8 to the 169, the quantum wave function of evil in the earth. Pulling ourselves up back into being able to manipulate the quantum wave function, which Colin Bloy did in 81. 81 plus 8. Where do we get the 8 from? Falklands War. Where do we get it this time? From the only saviour of the West. The only person who could save them after they've been totally stripped of their hyperinfinity can't collapse a quantum wave function. Miss America, Taylor Swift, who did a men ritual, which as we explained before. So of course, how could we increase the total war service to increase the torture of the Zionites? Remember, Perry had the Beirut explosion to turn her into a Nagwal woman. They lost, therefore I can turn a Nagwal woman into a 3-load. Taylor Swift. She goes from being a 4-load, so when she said she'd get pregnant with the fucktard Alwyn, gave me permission to destroy her, Omega Hellize her. How do we do this? Well, it's just a reverse. They wanted to turn Perry from a 3-load into a 4-load, so a baby would be 4-load, 4 plus 4, then repair Bloom gives you 12, gives you good stuff up the top. But it all, once they're fucked, is predicated on the 89. Taylor Swift born 1989. So Taylor Swift is the key, and destroying Taylor Swift is the key to making sure they're locked in forever. So the ritual was blow up Beirut, loads of death, 100th monkey effect, whole of the world focuses their attention on this Beirut devastation, to the east of Bank of Cyprus, to the north of Israel, taking the real number curse back into hell space, to get rid of it. Since the curse was produced by yours truly, it's supposed to rebound on me, blah blah blah, can't get to me, get to Bubblegum Girl. So she loses her Nagwalicity, it's given to Perry, to the baby, and of course if she's stripped, hopefully, because she's a Muslim, strip me, give to Blue. Last chance effect. Unfortunately for them, I found a 3-load Nagwal woman who has 2 loads on the right side, that's the material world, and only 1 on the left. So she's perfect. Remember, Perry's perfect to destroy the biophysical, the soul, spirit, the Illuminati, mystical side. But if you had a 3-load Nagwal with the 2-load on this side, she'd be perfect for destroying the actual physical structure of Zion. The real world Zion. Remember, at the moment, the soul of Zion's been destroyed, lost its money, lost its power, and with George Floyd, the slaves have rebelled and want to take over. But if you want to cause actual physical harm to Zion, the breaking of the world, all the other geophysical stuff, North Korea dropping Cobalt-60, H-bombs on America, all the other stuff, the real physical, nasty shit. You want to turn Taylor into a 3-load Nagwal, but with the double load on the right-hand side. So they want to do a soul exchange between Bubblegum Girl and Perry. They lost. So they do a soul exchange between the 3-load Nagwal who lives in North America and Taylor. So Taylor loses her Nagwalicity, turns into a 3-load like Perry, but on the right-hand side. And the 3-load Nagwal woman, who remains secret, who was just sitting there, ready for me to use her, becomes a Nagwal woman, and Bubblegum Girl left untouched. Why? Because in Beirut, these stupid Zionists didn't think, well, we killed all these Muslims. No, look up the demographic of Lebanon, you'll find Lebanon's full of fucking Christians as well. They had a civil war. There's loads of bloody Christians in. So we know some of the Christians died with the big bomb, which just went off by itself. Otherwise we're into the realm of conspiracy, you know. Not blaming anyone, it just went off at exactly the right time. So, some Christians died, which means you can do the ritual not only on Muslims, bubblegum girl, but on Christians like Taylor Swift. And of course the three-lobe naggle woman who lives in North America. And remember, the bomb went off in the port to the west, so we've got Cyprus, east, north of Israel, but the bomb went off the west, so we can transform the ritual they did to the west, back to North America. So we do the ritual, but instead of bubblegum girl losing her naggleisty to Perry and the baby and trying to reboot in blue, Taylor becomes a three-lobe naggle. And the three-lobe naggle in America becomes a naggle woman, stealing the naggleisty of Taylor. And remember, Taylor is vital to rescue Zion. 1989, the 89 is the only way out for the hyperinfiniteless to get back to controlling the total quantum wave function. So the last hope of Zion for the Zionites was Taylor Swift. And she, of course, gave that away when she said, I want babies with Alwyn. Now, who is Alwyn? Let's look at Alwyn. This is interesting. In Britain, the largest intelligence service in Britain is called MI4. Look it up on Google. You won't find anything about MI4. MI5, MI6, but not MI4. Why? Because like the NSA, it's the most important intelligence service in the UK. It runs everything in the UK. Banking, judiciary, medicine, councils, and it's linked up with the Lord Lieutenants and the Crown. Every aspect of British society is run by MI4. It's enormous. The Mandarins in Whitehall, Secretary, Undersecretary, members of MI4. The permanent government of Britain, MI4, not the MPs, they're just the window dressing. Prime Minister, just the window dressing. It's the permanent secretaries and undersecretaries, the Mandarins of Whitehall. They're MI4. Now, Alwyn's father is an officer in MI4. Tavistock's pure MI4. MI4 is all about controlling the Overton window, what you're able to discuss, what you're able to observe. Alwyn is an MI4 puppet, asset, because Daddy works for MI4. Taylor, of course, is an MI4 asset. Why does Taylor, Miss America, obsessed with living in shithole London, which is a shithole? Because she's a controlled asset of MI4, which works for the Rothschilds and the Crown. The Prime Minister can fuck off. He's, disposable. We get rid of them. Like the evil witch, Theresa May, or the even more evil witch, Margaret Thatcher. So we can see 89, why is Taylor linked with Alwyn? Because Illuminism realises that 1989, remember it's all about gematria, which is the Illuminati magic of numbers. It's been realised for a long time Taylor Swift could reboot Zion if yours truly got out of control. Now, of course, since she's a three-lobe naggle, and her energy has been given to Alwyn by fucking him, and now with a baby coming, we got the Taylor Swift ritual replicated with the Katy Perry template. So what we did to Katy Perry to bring in the Chinese virus and the economic collapse and the race war and class war, Shed World, and the abrupt brain death of Biden and the female vice president Negro going with the squad and the mad Democrats to oust the whites from control of America and take all their money, get rid of the Federal Reserve, all the other crap. Replicated with Taylor Swift. So not only is the Total War Service not abrogated by the ritual in Beirut, but it's redoubled. We've not only got one hell generator, Total War Service generator with Katy Perry and a baby, we've got the other one with Taylor Swift. The Katy Perry one destroys the soul of Zion, hellizes it. Taylor Swift destroys the physical Zion. All the heavy-duty wiping out of Zion, leaving it as wreckage, done by the Taylor Swift baby. And of course, since Taylor Swift baby sucks out the energy of Alwyn, who of course is part of MI4 that runs Britain, all the white privileged fucktard filth of Britain get wiped out by the Taylor Swift baby. Katy Perry was always designed to destroy the Illuminati, but Taylor Swift baby destroys the white privileged deep state of Britain, which all, of course, uplines the Rothschilds and the royal family. So, please, Taylor, get sprogged up as soon as possible, because I want to see the Total War Service redoubled. So what does that mean, of course, to our wonderful clients who bought the Total War Service? Well, no, not only have you got Total War Service, but thanks to Taylor Swift and Alwyn, and the accidental explosion in Beirut, because we don't want to be conspiracy theorists, we're just talking about the occult. So, we're not blaming anyone for the bomb going. If it just went off at exactly the right time to do the occult stuff. Not for the Zionites, but for me. That means the Total War Service is redoubled. So you've got Total War Service that's redoubled, self-propagating, which gives you a hell wave where we've got the 7 of Perry and a baby, plus the 7 again of Taylor and her Alwyn baby, 7 times, which gives us the 14, the 233, now in the hyperinfluence zone. And we can then, of course, take away the 8 squared male principle, which of course Taylor's done with a men video, and of course with all the deaths that are going to happen and all the war and all the other shit, to give us the exchange ritual, so that on August the 14th, when Perry was supposed to release her album, but now of course we've got the release of Bubblegum Girl and Madonna's collaboration with Missy Elliott, the poor little Bubblegum Girl, who was going to get 3 loads and fucked over to supply Perry, is no longer poor because she's untouched. And in fact, since they wanted to strip her of her nagwalicity, she can become an 8 load, like Miley. Why is Miley an 8 load? Because Tish is a Nagwal woman. Billy Ray is a Nagwal. Extremely rare. And together, they make a 4 load Nagwal child. Well, they make more. But of course, if the Nagwal child is super famous, like Miley, very young, Hannah Montana. She strips all the energy from Noah and the rest of them, and then has the potential, if she gets enough energy, to inflate into an 8-load. An 8-load Nagwal woman can then manifest all this 8 shit to switch it on, switch it off, blah blah blah. As you see, the 8's hyper important. And of course, if Bubblegum Girl knew how to do all this shit, then she of course would be able to use the 8 stuff. But fortunately for Smiley Miley, I made a deal with Lucifer to get all Lucifer's power, protection, and become the new Lucifer. In return for marrying his Queen Witch. But of course Lucifer tried to fuck me by making out that Katy Perry was the woman. But of course she's 3-load, she would have destroyed me. Because even if I'm 8-load, like Miley, 8 plus 3 makes 11, death. So Katy Perry would have been the death of me, instead of which I use Perry to destroy chaos and trap it in the little Jewish baby, make it flesh so it can suffer, and has actually suffered all of the humans that have ever suffered in history. And now chaos. All history rewritten. So every single human that ever suffered and died, erased, and chaos was put in their place. Oh, that's nasty. Yeah, goody goody. This also means that Lucifer gave me all the power for nothing. But of course, I owe you. Yeah, Lucifer, I want to make a worse hell. I want to keep your power forever. And you don't get tortured in Omega Hell. If you give your hell to me to be redesigned because your hell isn't evil enough or wicked enough for chaos to suffer. I want to upgrade it. I want to be total control, and I want to be able to download the Great Lord Beast as my commander of hell to take it over, because, you know, he's doing a wonderful job in Melbourne and Victoria, and he fucking loves all that stuff. I, of course, you know, being a tree hugger, like being in the Trang and drinking Viet Duc and beaching. So, of course, Lucifer writes an IOU, giving me not only all his power, but anything else I want on top. Okay, in that case, let's marry your Queen Witch, Smiley Miley, and you can be born as one of the brats. So, one can see when Smiley Miley wanders up and is seen with yours truly, you'll understand the backdrop to the story, which seems strange and out of this world until it actually happens. And once it happens, you go, oh, he did that on a video. Now I understand why she turned up and why he's her spiritual advisor and why she suddenly got pregnant with his children. Cut.